Hey Pokemon fans, Tamashii here. I'm going to do something today that I've never done before. Pokemon Sun and Moon have been announced, and all we have is a trailer with some still images and vague production footage. At the time I'm making this video, we still know next to nothing about them. But I already have some very specific hopes for what I'd like to see in Sun and Moon, and today I'm going to share them with you. You might be expecting a laundry list of features, like little things that I hope they'll bring back or introduce, and yes, I do have some of those things too. But that's not really what I'm most concerned about when it comes to the new games. Pokemon as a franchise does not lack for features. Generation 6 is one of the most feature-heavy sets of games in the series. Character customization, super training, Pokemon Ami, contests, Mega Evolutions, new battle types, a new type, new Pokemon, better graphics, and the list goes on and on. And yet to me, it felt empty. I was left wanting more. Generation 6 as a whole might be the most innovative generation yet, but it felt soulless. It was like a vase with lots of things painted on it, but nothing inside. There was a dearth of content in Gen 6, in spite of all its endless features, and it's taken me a while to really sort out why it feels that way. Now that Gen 6 is coming to a close, the flaws that pervaded X and Y and ORAS make it clear that Game Freak's design ethos has changed, as well as their target demographic. Their aim isn't to please longtime fans of the series, but instead to cater to the younger smartphone generation. And I understand why. Though age ranges vary for players around the world, their biggest and most loyal audience has always been the very, very young kids in Japan. And kids today have a lot more vying for their attention than we did. With smartphones and the internet and hours of content always just a click away, kids just don't have the same patience for long, sprawling RPGs. If you try to throw a puzzle at them that stumps them, they'll just go do something else and never touch your game again. And so, Game Freak has begun designing Pokemon games to meet their needs. A lot of companies have. An easier game so players don't get stumped means no trainer can have more than 3 Pokemon. And we'll throw in faster leveling for good measure. Kids get lost if you don't hold their hand through the game, and if they get lost, they're gone for good. So design the games as linear as possible. In a post-game, who needs that? You'll be lucky if your audience gets as far as Badge 5. In fact, just in case they're bored at that point, let's give them a legendary, for free! They don't even have to catch it, they can just have it. You can't expect them to play after finishing the main game, so why develop content for after the story? Hardcore players have the metagame anyway, and something different doesn't mean bad necessarily. These games are clearly not made for a player like me in mind, so of course I'm not going to like these changes. But that doesn't mean their new audience won't. Maybe this philosophy is paying off. But it does have some serious drawbacks as an RPG. Pokemon, to me, has always had something to offer that no other similar game has, because it introduces you to these characters and this world and invites you to become a part of it. It wants you to form bonds with your Pokemon and feel connected to them as your friends. Of the many, many different types of Pokemon, each one has a unique skill set that presents you with its own ways to solve problems. Whether it's how to catch and train new team members, or how to beat tough trainers, or how to solve puzzles that block your progress. Pokemon is just as much about the story you create yourself with your Pokemon as it is about the story that envelops the world. And with so many changes made in the name of making a game with wider appeal, Generation 6 lost sight of that. Without challenges to overcome with your Pokemon, you can't create memories with them as individuals. You can't find unique ways to use your Pokemon's special skills to solve a problem if the game is afraid of giving you any obstacles. You lose your story as a trainer when the game trains your Pokemon for you and becomes increasingly linear and limited, using the world narrative to push you from place to place. And if that world narrative is just a retread of Gen 4's story with some of the weakest written characters in the series, it too becomes a blur. If there's nothing waiting for you on the other side of it, no unique challenges to overcome with your Pokemon, no content beyond what the main game offers, your story with your Pokemon ends before it's even begun. The fun of raising Pokemon, connecting with them, dies. There's no soul here anymore. The game is just a feature list with a facelift. Maybe this is inevitable, and maybe for Pokemon to go on, it needs to adapt to today's gaming climate. But I have faith that it doesn't need to lose sight of what makes Pokemon special to achieve that. That they can find some kind of compromise that doesn't alienate newer fans or older, and that keeps the spirit of Pokemon alive. After all, I recall a man created a certain company because he was frustrated with the lack of quality games on the market and wanted to make his own with his friends. A company founded on the basis of wanting to make quality games, not just making money. What was that company called? It was called Game Freak. Pokemon has never not been a business, but the bottom line wasn't always what dictated their design philosophy at its core. They may have had a big marketing machine powering the whole project, But they didn't do things like challenge players' beliefs with a complicated story, or create moments that tested your mettle as a trainer because they thought it would make them money. They did it because they thought it would make a better game. So my hope for Sun and Moon isn't about new features or new megas, or what the region will look like. My hope is that the people making it will truly want to make a good game, and work hard to find a way to appeal to players of all ages. My hope is that they push the series forward with more stories to tell and more memories to create with your Pokémon. With some solid content, fleshed out characters, and unique challenges for you and your Pokémon to face together. I hope that they can find a compromise that makes them money without sacrificing the things that make Pokémon great. I don't think any player of any age wants a bland game that's indistinguishable from any Pokémon ripoff you could find in the App Store. We want the kind of game that only Game Freak can offer. I know they can make a game that has wide appeal and has heart, and I hope that game will be Pokémon Sun and Moon. Thanks for watching, and let's usher in Gen 7 with some optimism. See ya!